Hello there and welcome to my review of Wildcard, which is another team up between director Simon West and actor Jason Statham. This film is also written by William Goldman, who wrote the novel on which this is based. It sees Statham playing a man called Nick Wilde, who is desperate to get out of Las Vegas. He lives there, he works there, but he just doesn't want to be involved in the work that he does there anymore. He wants to live the dream life on a boat that he's going to buy. For whatever reason, he keeps on getting pulled back. He never gets out. He always ends up gambling his money away. He helps a woman, a friend of his, within the setup of this film against some mobs who wronged her, and he helps her get revenge against these mobsters. And then the rest of the film is essentially him trying to deal with these mobsters attacking him and trying to defend himself from them, whilst also trying to raise the money to get out of Las Vegas. This is perhaps a more character-driven piece than we're used to from Jason Statham, but I think he acquits himself well in the role, and I really buy into this character. Although the script is often a little bit heavy-handed, that's never more evident than with a character called Cyrus Kinnick, who is this young lad who comes to Nick Wilde to help him essentially gain confidence and be a bit more heroic in his life and lose the fear he has. And I just think that character is there to highlight some of the same aspects of Nick Wilde's character, and we could have done this in a much better way, I think, a little less heavy-handed. So that's probably, for me, the weakest point of this film. However, there are other relationships in this film that I do buy into, that I do enjoy, particularly the relationship between Nick and his friend Holly, the woman that he helps at the beginning of this film. She has been brutally assaulted by these mobsters, and she wants revenge. And at first I thought there may be a bit of a femme fatale element going on here. I thought she may actually be setting these guys up. But we learn very early on, this isn't a spoiler, because we learn very early on that isn't the case. So I do enjoy the relationship between these characters, even though she is actually quite manipulative with Nick. The scene in which she gets her vengeance is a really good scene. It's very well done. It's very well acted from all across the board, and it's one of those scenes where the violence in it it makes you clench up. Particularly as a guy, it makes you cross your legs. But it's a really good scene, really tense. And it's just a very good setup for the rest of the film. The rest of the film doesn't quite live up to that setup, but it's still very enjoyable nonetheless. It's a very talky, much talkier film than you would expect, as I say, from Statham. But there's some real fine standout supporting players, particularly like Hope Davis, who in this film looks a lot younger than I've seen her recently. I saw her in The Newsroom, and she really did look like she was getting on in that. But they've obviously done something with lighting and makeup in this, because she looks about 20 years younger, to be honest. But again, also Stanley Tucci is fantastic in this. Stanley Tucci is one of those people who, you put him in a supporting role in any film, he will elevate that film, and he does it here as well. He's one of the best supporting players you could put in a movie. Also, Milo Ventimiglia, a name which I'm probably butchering, plays the mobster Danny DeMarco in this film. And he does a very good job as well. He's very slimy. And I didn't realise who this guy was. I was looking at him all the way through this film thinking, I know you, I've seen you in something. And it's Peter Petrelli from Heroes. The guy looks completely different. But like I say, he does a really fine job here. There's not as much action in this film as you might expect from Statham, as I say, but there are three really great action sequences. One is like a slow-mo thing that's kind of stylized, and again, like I say, it makes you clench up because the violence in it is brutal. In all of the action sequences here, to be honest, the violence is quite brutal, so be prepared for that. But the other two action sequences are more the kind of thing you'd expect from Statham. They're very fast, very kinetic, very stunt-heavy, and really quite gripping. They get the blood pumping. So yeah, overall it's probably not as action-packed as you'd expect. There's a bit more character than you'd expect, although some of that is very heavy-handed. But quite a nice surprise, really. Much better than I was expecting it to be. Better than it had any right to be honest. And that's why I give this film a 6.5 out of 10. So if you've seen this film, comment below, let me know what you thought about it, and tell me which is your favourite Jason Statham action film. Until next time, thanks for watching.